On April 27, 1945, a man who once commanded the loyalty of millions hid in the back of a German military truck, draped in an oversized Wehrmacht greatcoat and steel helmet, desperately trying to slip across the Swiss border. Just hours earlier, he had been the dictator of Italy, Il Duce, the self-styled heir to Caesar. Now, a fugitive clinging to the thinnest thread of survival. This is the story of Benito Mussolini's final 24 hours, a dramatic, humiliating collapse that ended not with the pomp and ceremony he craved, but in a small village square, witnessed by the ordinary Italians he had terrorized, starved, and sent to war for over 2 decades. The morning of April 27th found Mussolini in the misty town of Como, near the Swiss frontier. He was part of a ragged German convoy racing north. Allied armies were closing in from the south. Milan had fallen just days earlier. For Mussolini, this was his final gamble at survival. Only 3 weeks before, he had been holed up in his Gargnano headquarters on Lake Garda, meeting with German generals still clinging to the illusion that his Italian Social Republic, a Nazi puppet state carved out of northern Italy after his 1943 rescue, could somehow endure. That rescue, a daring SS paratrooper raid led by Otto Skorzeny at Gran Sasso. But now, the Gothic line was shattered. German forces were in full retreat. Partisan activity had exploded across the region. The noose was tightening. The convoy was a rolling portrait of desperation. Several Wehrmacht trucks carrying high-ranking SS officers, loyal fascist ministers, their wives clutching jewelry and forged documents, and terrified children peering from dusty windows. Mussolini had abandoned his iconic black uniform, the one he wore while strutting on Roman balconies, for a bulky German greatcoat and a steel helmet 2 sizes too big. He hoped the disguise would fool partisan checkpoints now springing up like traps. The man who had posed for thousands of propaganda photos, projecting strength, authority, and destiny, was now hunched in the shadows, his face half hidden beneath foreign insignia. The irony was crushing. Clara Petacci, his mistress of over a decade, traveled in a separate refugee truck. She had refused multiple chances to flee alone, insisting on sharing whatever fate awaited the man she loved. Their route hugged the western shore of Lake Como, a path once lined with luxury villas for Italy's elite, now a corridor of defeat. Ancient towns that had seen Roman legions and Renaissance princes were about to witness the final act of one of Italy's darkest chapters. As the convoy crawled north through mountain passes, tension mounted. Radio reports warned of partisan roadblocks. Rumors said Swiss border guards were rejecting all Italians. The neutral nation, swamped with fleeing fascists, had slammed the door. Capture meant certain death. Partisan leaflets and broadcasts had promised no trials, no mercy for those who collaborated with the Germans or crushed the resistance. The German officers in charge had zero loyalty left for Mussolini. To them, he was a liability, a walking death sentence. Colonel Hans Falmy, convoy commander, had already drawn up contingency plans. If cornered, sacrifice the Italians to save his men. The Axis alliance, once ironclad, had dissolved into self-preservation. Hitler was trapped in Berlin. These officers knew their duty was to themselves, not a fallen Italian ally. By midday, the convoy hit its first major obstacle, a partisan checkpoint near the village of Musso. The air crackled with danger. 52nd Garibaldi Brigade, a communist resistance unit of farmers, factory workers, and students, had set up just hours earlier on fresh intelligence. They were named after Giuseppe Garibaldi, the 19th century unifier, and saw themselves as liberators from foreign tyranny. Many had lost family to fascist reprisals. Others had been tortured by Mussolini's OVRA secret police. They carried personal vendettas. At first, they prepared to wave the convoy through. German military vehicles were common, but something felt off. Urbano Lazzaro, the partisan leader, a former Italian soldier turned resistance fighter, noted nervous faces, ill-fitting uniforms, and sweat in the cool air. He had radio intel from other units, high-value targets fleeing this route. He ordered a full inspection. The Germans stayed calm, flashing perfect papers, but the disguised Italians crumbled. One man's hand shook so badly his Italian ID spilled out. Another's accent betrayed him. A facial scar under fake bandages gave away a known fascist butcher. Then Joseph Negri, a young partisan raised on Mussolini posters in every classroom, locked eyes with the man in the truck. That jaw, those eyes. He whispered, "E lui, il duce." The checkpoint exploded in shock. Mussolini, sensing the end, tried one final act of authority. He straightened up, threw back his shoulders, and barked orders like he was still on the Piazza Venezia balcony. But the magic was gone. The partisans saw only a scared old man in a clownish coat. They laughed, rifles rose. The Germans stepped back, abandoning their allies. Clara Petacci was yanked from her truck, screaming his name. Capture complete. The news spread like wildfire through partisan radio networks. 2025 declassified logs show coded bursts within minutes. Aquila Catarata, Eagle captured. For fighters who had bled in the mountains for years, this was validation. But it also posed a crisis. What now? As darkness fell, Mussolini and Clara were locked in a cramped room in a Bonzanigo farmhouse, a world away from his palatial Villa Torlonia in Rome. Stone walls, straw beds, armed guards rotating all night. Mussolini paced, pleaded, offered hidden fascist gold named fleeing officials. He appealed to Italian pride, reminding guards of Ethiopia, modern roads, drained marshes. Nothing worked. The guards had seen villages burned, brothers hanged. Clara held his hand, whispering comfort, her own fear barely contained. Outside, partisan leaders debated. Communists wanted immediate execution. No chance of rescue? Moderates pushed for a public trial to expose crimes. Allied forces were hours away. They might demand custody, risk too high. Other fascist leaders, Pavellini, Starash, were being rounded up and shot across the region. The entire regime was collapsing in a day. Dawn, April 28th. Decision made. No trial. Walter Audicio, nom de guerre. Colonel Valerio, a battle-hardened communist who'd lost comrades to fascist death squads, arrived with a small team. He entered the room. By order of the National Liberation Committee, you are condemned for crimes against the Italian people. Mussolini begged, gold, mercy, anything. Clara clung to him, screaming. Audicio was ice. They were loaded into a car for a short, silent drive through mountain roads to Giulino di Mezzagra. The site, Villa Belmonte's ornate iron gate, a quiet suburban street. 4:10 p.m., Audicio lined them up. Mussolini tried to stand tall. Clara refused to leave his side. Audicio raised his submachine gun. Multiple shots, both crumpled. No final speech, no drama, just blood on stone. Bodies were wrapped in sheets, thrown in the truck. Destination, Milan. Piazzale Loreto, the same square where, months earlier, fascists had hung 15 executed partisans as a warning. Now, revenge. The journey took hours over bomb-cratered roads. News spread, Il Duce dead. Fascist leadership wiped out in a 24-hour purge. Night, April 28th. Convoy rolled into Milan's outskirts. Partisans controlled the city. Piazzale Loreto was ready. Dawn, April 29th. The bodies were hoisted upside down from a rusted Esso gas station beam. Mussolini, Clara, other leaders. A crowd of thousands surged in, former supporters, victims, curious. They spat, kicked, wept, screamed. Some who once cheered him in the 1920s now beat his corpse. Photographers captured it all, images that shocked the world. Was it justice or mob vengeance? So what do you think, justice or revenge? If this dictator's fall blew your mind, smash that like and subscribe for more end of empire stories. Thanks for watching.